ice-cold encounter. The frozen wind cut through the silent wasteland, carrying dust and shards of ice across the broken valley. A lone human moved carefully between ruined structures, his boots crunching over frozen ground. His breath made small white clouds in the air as he pulled his jacket tighter around him. He had been searching for shelter, but more than that, he was searching for answers. The place had once been an outpost, that much was clear. The shattered walls still carried signs of battle, burnt marks from weapons and collapsed towers leaning dangerously. Yet no movement, no life, just silence. Silence heavy enough to make him feel like he was the last living soul on the planet. Then he heard it. A faint sound, almost lost in the howl of the wind. It was soft, weak, almost like a whisper. He froze, scanning the broken shadows. His instincts told him danger was close, and yet the sound did not carry the weight of a threat. It was the sound of someone struggling to breathe. He followed the sound, moving past broken machinery and leaning walls until he saw her. At first he thought it was a trick of the storm. But no. There she was, sitting against the wreckage of a burned wall. Her body small, fragile, wrapped in thin, alien fabric that was torn and soaked with frost. Her skin glowed faintly in the dying light, a pale silver tone that shimmered even in the cold. Her eyes were half open, glowing softly like embers struggling not to fade. The human paused, his hand near his weapon. He had seen many kinds of aliens before, but never one like her. She looked too young, too delicate to have survived here alone. Still, he knew better than to trust appearances. Many creatures in this galaxy wore masks of weakness, hiding claws beneath. The girl looked at him, her lips trembling, her voice cracked as she whispered, "Please, I only want warmth." Her words were clear, her accent strange but understandable. Her eyes held no malice, only desperation. He hesitated. His training screamed at him not to get involved. He was stranded himself, low on supplies, and this planet was dangerous enough without taking strangers along. But something in her voice struck deep. He saw the way she shivered, how her thin hands clutched at herself. He knew she wouldn't last long out here. Slowly, he lowered his weapon and approached. He knelt beside her and opened his pack, pulling out a small thermal blanket. Without a word, he draped it over her shoulders. She closed her eyes and let out a shaky breath, as if the thin warmth was already saving her life. For a long moment, they sat in silence. The only sound was the storm outside and the faint hum of her breathing. The human studied her carefully. He noticed strange patterns across her skin, almost like markings that pulsed faintly with light. They looked alive, shifting slowly beneath the surface. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. "Who are you?" he finally asked, his voice low but steady. Her eyes opened slightly, glowing brighter as she looked at him. "It does not matter now," she whispered. "I only need warmth, just warmth." He frowned. Something about her answer unsettled him. It was too vague, too careful. Yet when she leaned against him, seeking his body heat through the blanket, he felt her trembling ease. For a moment he told himself she was just a survivor, a lost soul in the frozen dark, but deep inside, suspicion remained. The storm outside grew harsher, forcing him to stay close to the ruined wall with her. He built a small fire from broken wood and scraps. The flames flickered weakly, fighting against the wind. She stared into the fire as if it were the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. Her eyes reflected the light, glowing like two distant
"Stars, you should not be here," she said softly. "This place."
"It is not safe." He gave a small, bitter laugh. "I know," he replied, "but I didn't have much of a choice." She looked at him again, her gaze steady now. "You helped me," she whispered. "That means you are not like the others. Humans. They say you are different." His heart beat a little faster. There was something in her tone, something more than gratitude. Her words carried weight, as if she had been waiting for a human, as if his arrival was not an accident at all. The fire crackled between them. The human sat in silence, but his thoughts were loud. He could not shake the feeling that he had stepped into something larger than himself. The girl asked for warmth, but he felt there was more hidden behind those glowing eyes. Outside, the storm raged. Shadows moved in the distance too far to be clear, but close enough to remind him he was not alone on this world. He kept his weapon near, his eyes shifting between the fire and the alien girl at his side. She closed her eyes, slowly, her voice soft. "Thank you," she whispered. "I needed this." But as he watched her, the human realized something troubling. She did not look like someone who was only searching for warmth. She looked like someone who had found exactly what she wanted and was already thinking of the next step. The cold encounter was only the beginning. A fire in the dark, the small fire burned weakly, casting long shadows across the broken walls. The human sat close, his weapon by his side, while the alien girl rested under the blanket. Her breathing had steadied, and her glowing eyes were half closed, watching the flames as if they held all the secrets of the universe. Outside, the storm screamed across the wasteland. Each gust made the fire tremble, but it did not die. The human kept feeding scraps of wood, determined to keep the light alive. For some reason, the fire felt more important than simple warmth. It was a fragile line between safety and danger. The girl's voice broke the silence, soft but sharp. "Why are you here?" she asked. Her tone was gentle, but her eyes searched him deeply, as if his answer mattered more than the storm itself. "I was sent," he replied carefully. "But the mission is gone now, my team. They didn't make it, I'm just trying to survive." His voice was flat, carrying the weight of loss he didn't want to show. She tilted her head, studying him. The faint glow on her skin pulsed slowly. "Humans endure," she said quietly. "That is what they are known for. When the others fall, you still stand." He frowned, unsure how much she truly knew about humans. "And what about you?" he asked. "What are you doing alone on this frozen graveyard?" Her lips pressed tightly. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Instead, she leaned closer to the fire, letting the orange glow reflect against her silver skin. Finally, she whispered, "I ran. They are hunting me. They will never stop. Not until they find me." The human stiffened. His instincts sharpened instantly. "Who is hunting you?" he asked, his hand tightening near his weapon. Her glowing eyes shifted toward the broken entrance of the shelter. Her voice dropped to a trembling whisper. "My own people." The word struck him like a blade. He had expected raiders, mercenaries, or even rival species. But not this. He looked at her again, searching her face. "Why?" he asked firmly. Her body shook slightly as she pulled the blanket tighter. "Because I carry something they want, something they fear," she said. "I should not have it. I should not know what I know." The fire cracked, throwing sparks into the dark. The human studied her carefully. His gut told him she wasn't lying, but her vague words left more questions than answers. A sound broke the silence. A low, distant echo from outside carried by the storm. It was not the natural howl of the wind, it was sharper, heavier like movement in the snow. The human's eyes narrowed. He stood quickly, scanning the shadows beyond the shelter. "They are close," the girl whispered. Her voice trembled, but her glowing eyes hardened with strange determination. "They will come for me. They always find me." The human raised his weapon, his heart pounding. He could feel it too now, the sense of being watched, hunted. The storm was no longer just weather, it was cover for something far worse. The girl slowly rose, her thin form wrapped in the blanket. Her silver skin glowed brighter now, pulsing. Faintly with each heartbeat, she looked stronger than before, as if the fire had given her more than warmth. The human caught the change instantly, suspicion stirring. "You said you wanted warmth," he said sharply. "But I think you wanted more than that." She met his gaze, her glowing eyes unblinking. "Warmth was only the beginning," she whispered. "Now I need your choice." The human's breath caught. He didn't like where this was going. "What choice?" he asked coldly. The storm roared louder, and the distant echoes grew clearer, multiple steps crunching over snow and ice. The hunters were closing in. She stepped closer to him, her hand trembling but steady as she pointed toward the entrance. You can leave me, and they will take me, or you can fight with me and together we can survive, but if you fight you will learn the truth. And once you know it, there is no going back. The firelight flickered against her face, and for a moment she did not look fragile at all. She looked like someone carrying a secret too dangerous to be shared, and yet she was offering it to him. The human's heart pounded. He could almost see the moving shadows outside now. He knew he had minutes at most before the hunters broke through. I don't even know your name, he muttered, his voice heavy. She gave a faint, almost sorrowful smile. Names are not important. Not now. Not until you choose. A sharp crack rang out in the distance, a weapon's discharge, bright light flashing briefly against the storm clouds. The hunters were close. The girl's glowing skin pulsed faster, her entire body tense. The human raised his weapon, his grip tight. He knew he was standing at the edge of something larger than himself, larger than survival. The fire burned between them, small and fragile. The darkness beyond it pressed closer, filled with shadows and the sound of approaching enemies. And the alien girl, once shivering and weak, now stood with eyes that glowed like twin stars, waiting for his answer. The choice had come faster than he ever expected. The secret. She carries. The human stood with his weapon ready, the fire burning low at his side. Outside the storm howled, and the faint shapes of figures moved in the shadows. He could hear them. Now armored steps crunching on frozen ground, steady and deliberate. Whoever they were hunting with purpose. The alien girl pulled the blanket tighter, her silver skin glowing brighter as if it fed on the fire's light. Her voice was quiet but sharp. You asked what I carry, now you must know. He glanced at her, his heart pounding. Make it quick, he whispered. His eyes never left the darkness beyond the ruined wall, her glowing gaze fixed on him. I hold the memory of my people's weapon, she said. Not a tool, not a device, but knowledge. I escaped with it before they could lock it away forever. The words struck like a cold blade. The human tensed. A weapon, he muttered. You brought me into this without telling me. She shook her head slowly. I did not lie, I only asked for warmth. But you should understand. Warmth means more than fire. It means trust, protection, the spark that keeps life alive. Without you, I cannot hold this secret. It will be taken, and then the galaxy will burn. Her voice trembled, yet her eyes held fierce determination. The human narrowed his gaze. Why not hide it, destroy it? Why carry it at all? Her lips pressed tightly. Because it cannot be destroyed. It was written into me. They changed me, shaped me to carry it. I am living. Proof of their greatest sin, she whispered. They made me a vessel. The human's stomach tightened. He looked at her differently now, not just as a stranger but as something far more dangerous. She wasn't just a girl on a frozen world. She was a weapon herself. Before he could respond, a sharp crack echoed from outside. A blue pulse of energy lit the storm, striking against the wall and shaking the ground. The hunters were closer, their weapons hummed with deadly intent. The girl reached out, clutching his sleeve. If they take me, they will use me, they will finish what they started, you must not let them. He pulled away, his eyes sharp. And what do you want? What are these other plans you keep hiding? Her glow brightened, the markings across her skin pulsing with rhythm like a heartbeat. I want to give it to you, she whispered. The human froze. What? He hissed. To humanity, she said firmly. Your kind is different. I have studied the stories. I have heard the warnings. Humans do not break the way others do. You endure, you resist, you fight even when you should fall. That is why I ran. That is why I waited for you. His chest tightened, suspicion and fear mixing. So you let me find you. You wanted me to come. She lowered her head slightly, her silver hair falling across her face. I knew a human would come to this world. I felt it, I hoped it. And when I saw you, I knew. Outside, the storm cracked again. A loud metallic roar echoed through the ruins. The hunters were preparing to breach. The human's thoughts raced. If what she said was true, he was holding the key to a galactic nightmare. He had a choice: to leave her and escape, or to stand with her and risk carrying her burden. The girl's glowing eyes locked onto his. You think I only wanted fire, but no. I wanted warmth of the human spirit. I needed to see if you would choose compassion. Now I know you can. Another blast struck the wall, debris falling as the structure shook. Time was running out. The human tightened his grip on his weapon. If I help you, if I fight with you, what happens then? Her glow pulsed brighter, her entire form trembling with both fear and hope. Then the galaxy changes. Then you will know why humans must carry what others cannot. You will become more than survivors. You will become the shield. Her words burned in his chest, but he didn't have time to argue. The ruined wall cracked under another impact, blue light slicing through the storm. The hunter's shadows were clear now, tall, armored, carrying weapons that glowed. With deadly energy, the girl's hand found his arm again, her grip stronger than before. Choose now, she whispered, or there will be no choice left. The human's jaw clenched. He had faced many battles before, but this was different. This was not survival. This was destiny reaching out through the storm. He glanced at the fire, the last flicker of fragile light between them, then at her glowing eyes full of secrets and desperate truth. And as the first hunter broke through the wall, metal armor shining under the storm, the human lifted his weapon. His choice was made. The secret she carried would not fall into their hands. The chase begins. The wall shattered under the force of the blast. Stone and metal fragments flew across the ruined shelter. The fire was snuffed out in an instant, plunging everything into flickering shadows. The human raised his weapon, eyes narrowing as the first armored figure stepped through the smoke. The hunter was tall, its armor gleaming with a faint blue glow. Its mask was featureless, but it's heavy. Breathing filled the air with menace. Behind it, more shapes appeared, their weapons humming with deadly power. The girl stood close to the human, her silver skin glowing brighter in response. Run, she whispered, her voice sharp. We cannot face them here. The human fired. A burst of red light cut across the room, striking the first hunter and staggering it back, but it did not fall. It steadied itself quickly, its armor absorbing most of the impact. The human cursed under his breath. He had fought tough enemies before, but this was something else. Grabbing the girl's hand, he pulled her through a gap in the wall. They dashed into the storm, snow whipping against their faces as the wind howled. The hunters followed immediately, their heavy steps crushing the ground. The girl's breath came in sharp gasps, her glow marking their path in the dark. They ran through broken structures, weaving between shattered towers and collapsed bridges. The human knew the terrain gave them a chance. He had always trusted survival to speed, shadows, and instinct. The girl stumbled, but he kept her moving, pulling her along. Behind them, energy blasts tore through the storm. Blue streaks of light cut across the snow, one missing his head by inches. The human ducked, dragging her behind cover. They crouched behind a half-buried wall, both breathing hard. They will not stop, the girl whispered, her voice shaking. They will chase until the end. The human checked his weapon, the power reading low. His supplies were running out fast. Then we don't give them the end, he muttered. His eyes scanned the ruins, searching for any path that offered escape. The girl's glowing markings pulsed, faint lines of light moving across her arms and neck. The human noticed, his suspicion growing again. You're stronger now, he said sharply. What else? Are you hiding from me? Her glowing eyes met his. I was made to survive, but not alone, she whispered. With you, I can be more. That is the truth. Before he could press further, the wall behind them exploded. The hunters had found their cover. Snow and stone erupted into the air. The human pulled her forward again, sprinting into the storm. The chase grew more dangerous. Energy blasts lit the storm in blinding flashes. Each strike shook the ground, throwing up waves of snow. The human zigzagged, dragging the girl with him. Their breaths came fast, the cold burning their lungs. Up ahead, a collapsed bridge stretched across a frozen chasm. Half broken, half standing, it was their only path. Move, he shouted, his voice cutting through the storm. They reached the edge and climbed, their boots slipping on cracked stone. The bridge groaned under their weight, the wind pushing against them like a wall. The girl clutched his arm, her silver glow bright against the darkness. Behind them, the hunters reached the bridge, their heavy steps shaking the structure even more. The human turned and fired again. His shots hit one of the supports. The bridge cracked loudly, chunks of stone falling into the endless chasm below. The hunters staggered but kept advancing. Their armor shimmered, resisting the storm and the crumbling stone. The girl cried out, "They will not stop. They will follow. Always." The human pushed forward, pulling her to the far end of the bridge. His boot slipped, but he did not let go of her hand. At the last step, he turned, firing again at the final support. The bridge cracked fully this time, collapsing into the chasm. The hunters roared as they fell, their heavy armor dragging them down into the stormy abyss. Their glowing weapons flickered before vanishing into darkness. Breathing hard, the human pulled the girl down behind a jagged rock. They crouched together, hearts racing. The storm howled around them, but for a moment silence returned. "You see now?" the girl whispered, her voice trembling but firm. "They will burn everything to take me back. They will never stop. I carry the truth they fear most." The human's eyes narrowed. "Then we keep running until we find a way to end this." Her glowing gaze softened. She leaned against him, her body trembling with both cold and exhaustion. "You could leave me," she said softly. "You should, but you don't." His jaw tightened. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked out at the endless storm, knowing this was only the beginning of something far greater. The hunters would return, more of them, stronger. They always did, and now he understood. This chase was not just survival. It was war waiting to happen. He tightened his grip on his weapon. The fire was gone, but in its place something else burned inside him. Not just survival, not just instinct, but resolve. The chase had begun, and there was no turning back. Between trust and betrayal, the storm had eased, but the silence that followed felt heavier than the wind. The human and the alien girl sat in the shadow of broken cliffs, the collapsed bridge far behind them. Their breaths came in uneven bursts, clouds of white mist rising and fading into the night air. The human kept his weapon across his knees, his eyes fixed on the storm behind them. He knew the hunters were not gone. They would climb, they would return. They always returned. Still, for the first time since he met her, they had a small distance of safety. The girl sat beside him, her silver glow dimmed but steady. Her voice broke the silence. "You saved me again," she whispered. "You could have let me fall, but you did not." He gave her a sharp look, his voice flat. "Don't mistake my choice. I didn't save you for kindness. I need answers. If you've dragged me into your fight, I deserve the truth." Her glowing eyes lowered, her fingers tracing the frost-covered rock. "Truth," she whispered. "The truth is not simple. It is heavy. It is dangerous. You may not want it." "I don't care," he said coldly. "I've already bled for you. The least you can do is explain why your own people want you hunted like an animal." The girl's glow pulsed faintly, her skin shifting with light like waves under her. Finally, she lifted her head. "I told you I carry something. I told you it is knowledge," she said softly. "But it is more than knowledge. It is a design, a path to a weapon that can bend entire armies. It is locked in my blood, written into me so it cannot be erased." The human's jaw tightened. His suspicion had grown since the night he found her. Now it sharpened. "So you're not just some runaway. You're the key to destruction." Her voice trembled. "I never asked for it. They made me this way. I was born only to serve as their vessel, but when I realized what it meant, I fled. I would rather die than let them finish their work." Dini. Human studied her in silence. His instincts screamed danger. He could not ignore the risk. She was powerful, perhaps too powerful. Yet when he saw the way she hugged the thin blanket, trembling in the cold despite her glow, she looked less like a weapon and more like a frightened soul. "You still haven't told me why me," he muttered. "Why humans? Why drag me into this?" Her eyes glowed brighter. fixing on him with strange intensity. "Because your kind does not yield," she whispered. "I have seen it. I have studied it. Every other race submits when broken, but not humans. You endure, you resist, you rise again when all others fall. That is why I wanted you. That is why I waited. I cannot carry this alone." The human's chest tightened. He did not like being chosen. He hated the thought of being manipulated. "And what if I refuse?" he asked, his voice low. She leaned closer, her glow warming the space between them. "Then you can walk away, but know this. If you leave me, they will win, and when they win, your people will suffer too. The fire I asked for was never just heat. It was the spark of something greater, and only humans can keep it alive." He clenched his fists, torn between anger and duty. He had fought many battles before, but this was different. This was trust mixed with suspicion, hope tangled with fear. Then, without warning, a sound echoed through the cliffs. The crunch of metal on stone. The hunters had returned. Their voices were low and mechanical, speaking in a language he could not understand, but their intent was clear. The human pressed his back against the rock, motioning for the girl to stay silent. He raised his weapon, eyes sharp. His heart beat heavy, louder than the storm itself. The girl touched his arm, her glow faint but steady. "You doubt me," she whispered. "But if you trust me now, I will show you why they fear me." His suspicion flared. He whispered back, "Or you'll show me why I should fear you." Her eyes softened. "Perhaps both," she admitted. Before he could respond, the hunters came into view, armored shadows against the pale light. Their weapons glowed blue as they scanned the cliffs. The human's finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could fire, the girl stood slowly, her glow rising brighter and brighter until the hunters froze. Light pulsed across her skin in waves, spilling into the snow. Her voice rang out clear, stronger than before. "You cannot take me back," she said. "I am no longer yours." The hunters raised their weapons, but the ground trembled. The snow shifted under their boots as her glow intensified. The human watched in shock, realizing she had more power than she admitted. He grabbed her arm, whispering urgently, "Stop. You'll bring the whole mountain down." Her glowing eyes met his, full of sorrow. "Then they will learn why I chose you," she whispered. The hunters fired. Blue energy blasts cut through the night. The human returned fire, sparks lighting the storm. The girl's glow erupted brighter, pushing the hunters back with a force unseen. When the fight finally ceased, the hunters staggered away, retreating into the storm, leaving the ground cracked and burning with faint blue light. The human looked at her, his suspicion deeper than ever. She trembled, her glow dimming again. "I told you," she whispered. "I cannot survive alone. That is why I need you." He stared at her in silence, his weapon lowered, but his heart was at war. Between trust and betrayal, he had no clear path. Only the storm ahead. The plan revealed. The human sat in silence, his weapon resting on his lap. The girl sat across from him, her silver glow faint now. Her breathing was uneven, her body trembling as though the burst of power had drained her. The storm outside had eased, but the ruins around them still shook from the clash. He stared at her for a long time, his voice sharp when he finally spoke. "You're hiding too much. Every answer you give is half the truth. If I'm risking my life, I want all of it. No more secrets." Her glowing eyes lifted slowly. Her voice was soft but steady. "Then you will hear it. But once you do, you can never go back to being only a soldier. You will carry the weight with me." He leaned forward, his face hard. "Then speak." The girl exhaled, her glow pulsing faintly across the markings on her skin. "My people built weapons not from metal, not from machines, but from life itself," she whispered. "They created vessels, children shaped before birth, given the burden of carrying knowledge too dangerous to exist anywhere else. I am one of them, the last of my kind." The human's chest tightened. The idea sickened him. "So you were made only to carry war." Her voice cracked. Yes, and I escaped. I could not accept it. I would rather die than become their tool. But they cannot allow that. They cannot let me fall into the hands of another, so they hunt me. They chase me across worlds. They burn everything in their path only to erase me. He clenched his fists. His suspicion was still alive. But now anger grew inside him too. Anger not at her, but at the cruelty of those who made her. She looked into his eyes, her voice trembling but determined. When I fled, I realized something. I cannot destroy what I carry. But I can choose who inherits it, and I chose humans. The human stiffened. You want to give it to us, he said sharply. Why? Why drag my people into your war? Her glow brightened slightly, her eyes unblinking. Because humans endure what others cannot. I studied your history. I saw how you rise after every fall. I saw how you fight even when hope is gone. You are not perfect, but you are unbroken. And that is what this knowledge needs, not control, but endurance. The words echoed in the ruins. The human felt the weight of them press down on him. He thought of Earth, of the millions who lived without knowing a storm like this. If she was right, her secret could change everything. You talk about giving it, he muttered. But what exactly is it? What does this weapon do? Her gaze lowered, the glow across her skin dimming. It reshapes life, she whispered. It can make armies stronger, faster, impossible to defeat. It can twist worlds into breeding grounds for endless soldiers. If my people take me back, they will unleash it, and no race will resist. But if I give it to humans, it could become something else, not destruction but survival, not conquest but defense. The human's breath caught. The choice she offered was heavier than he imagined. This was not only about her survival, it was about the survival of the galaxy itself. Before he could respond, the ground rumbled. Distant booms shook the ruins. The hunters had not given up. More were coming, stronger, heavier. The girl tensed, her glow rising again. They know where we are, she whispered. They are bringing the full force. We cannot stay. We must move to the ship. It is the only place I can show you what I mean. His head turned sharply. Ship? He asked, suspicion burning in his eyes. She nodded. It crashed when I fled. It is hidden deep in the valley. If we reach it, I can unlock what I carry. You will see the truth yourself. The human's grip tightened on his weapon. His gut twisted. Every step with her pulled him deeper into a war he never asked for. But deep inside, he knew there was no turning back. If she was right, if she truly held the key to a weapon that could burn entire civilizations, leaving her behind would not save his people. It would only doom them later. He stood slowly, scanning. The storm ahead. Then we move, he said. Show me this ship, show me your plan, and if I don't like what I see, we end this. The girl's glowing eyes softened. Fair, she whispered. But once you see it, you will understand why I chose you. The ground shook again, closer now. The hunters' steps thundered like drums of war. The storm whipped into furious waves of snow and ice. The girl stood beside him, her glow rising stronger with each heartbeat. Her small frame no longer seemed fragile, but determined. The human looked at her, torn between suspicion and trust. You say you need me, he muttered. Then prove it. She nodded slowly, her voice steady. I will. I promise you this. When the moment comes, you will see why. Humanity must carry the fire. The hunters roared in the distance, their weapons lighting the storm in flashes of blue. The human gritted his teeth, pulling the girl forward. Together they stepped into the raging storm, toward the valley, toward the ship. The truth waited ahead, and it would either bind them together or destroy them both. The final choice. The storm raged as they moved through the valley. Snow and ice whipped against their faces, blinding their path. The human held his weapon tight, pulling the girl close as they pressed forward. Behind them, the thunder of hunters grew louder, dozens of armored steps shaking the frozen earth. The girl's glow lit the path faintly. Her markings pulsed with steady rhythm, guiding them toward a jagged canyon. At its heart lay the wreckage of a ship, half buried under snow and ice. Its hull cracked and broken, but its core still glowed faintly with alien light. There, she whispered, her voice sharp with urgency. Inside the ship lies the key. Once you see it, you will understand why I chose you. The human narrowed his eyes, suspicion alive, but he had no choice now. The hunters were too close. If this ship truly held the answers, then this was the only chance to learn them. They climbed over shattered metal and broken beams. The ship's interior groaned under their steps, glowing faintly with dying power. Inside, strange symbols pulsed across the walls, alive yet fading. The girl touched them gently, her skin glowing in response. The ship seemed to awaken, humming, faintly as if recognizing her. At the center of the chamber stood a crystalline core, tall and sharp, glowing with pale light. The girl stepped forward, her silver eyes bright. "This is it," she whispered. "The memory I carry is locked here. It will open only to me. But once I open it, I can give it away. I can give it to you." The human's breath was heavy, his weapon lowered slightly. "And if I refuse?" he asked coldly. Her glow dimmed, her voice soft but certain. "Then I will fall, and they will take me. And once they do, the galaxy will burn." The ship shook as an explosion ripped through the valley outside. The hunters had arrived. Their voices echoed through the broken corridors, weapons humming with deadly light. The girl stepped closer to the core, placing her hand on its surface. Her glow spread into it, symbols across the chamber flaring to life. Energy surged through the ship, shaking the ground. Her voice carried over the hum. "This is my other plan. Not just survival, not just escape, but to pass the fire on, to give it to humanity, so it can become not a weapon of conquest, but a shield against tyranny." The human's chest tightened. He could see her trembling as the core drained her strength. Her small frame shook violently, but she kept her hand pressed against the crystal. Her voice cracked. "I cannot hold it much longer. You must choose now." The hunters broke through. The ship's walls, blue light spilling inside. Their weapons raised, their steps echoing with iron rhythm. The human spun, firing quickly. His shots dropped the first two, but more came, their numbers endless. The girl cried out, her glow rising brighter. The chamber pulsed with light. Symbols raced across the walls faster and faster. "Take it," she whispered. "Take the fire, or everything ends here." The human hesitated. His mind raged with doubt. If he accepted, he would carry her burden. He would be bound to knowledge too dangerous for any being to hold. But if he refused, she would fall, and the hunters would take everything. His people would face a storm. They could never survive. He looked at her, trembling yet unbroken. Her glowing eyes locked onto his, filled not with fear, but with hope. She had chosen him, not because he was strong, but because he was human. Because humans refused to break. With a sharp breath, he stepped forward, placing his hand over hers on the crystal. Light surged into him, burning through his veins. He felt the weight of 1,000 voices, the memory of weapons, wars, and secrets that no world should ever carry. It pressed into his soul like fire, and yet he stood. He endured. The girl collapsed. Against him, her glow dimming, her voice faint. "Now you see," she whispered. "Now you understand why I asked for warmth. It was never just fire. It was the fire of your spirit. Only you could hold this without breaking." The hunters roared, firing into the chamber. But the human rose, his body burning with new strength. His weapon blazed with light that fused human steel with alien fire. He fired once, and the energy tore through the hunters, scattering them like ash in the storm. The ship groaned, its core fading. The girl leaned weakly against him, her strength nearly gone. "It is yours now," she whispered. "I gave you my burden, and you turned it into power. They will fear you, but they will also fear what humanity can become." He looked at her, his jaw tight. "You trusted us," he said quietly, "and I won't let that trust die." Outside, the storm broke. The hunters scattered, retreating into the frozen wasteland. The human stood tall, carrying both his weapon and the faintly glowing girl in his arms. The burden was his now, humanity's now. The fire she had passed on was no longer just a weapon. It was a choice to protect instead of destroy, a choice to endure when others fell. As he stepped into the storm, her voice whispered faintly, "I asked only for warmth, but in you, I found far more." And the human knew the war ahead would not be easy, but with the fire in his veins and the strength of his people behind him, the galaxy would never see humans the same way again.